Hey, this is Zach, and in this session, we're going to go over some tips and tricks on contact information for your resume, what to include, what not to include, and what are maybe some optional things for you to think about. So I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to dive right in. Okay, so things that you definitely need: first and last name, city, state, or country, and zip code. Phone number is very important. If somebody thinks you're a perfect fit for the role, you want them to call you as quickly as possible, or maybe to text you. Additionally, your email address. Make sure to keep the email address professional. I've certainly seen some email addresses that maybe aren't quite as professional. So even just your first name, last name at Gmail or Yahoo would work. And then if you have a relevant website, make sure that you do include that as well. So if it's a LinkedIn or a GitHub or personal portfolio, especially if you're in the design space, if you're doing any sort of design work, creative work, people will want to see the work that you've done. So that's especially important to include. Things that you don't need to include are your full street address. As a recruiter, I don't need that until I'm going to do an offer. I do want to know your city and your state or country and your zip code. And oftentimes I'm actually going to use that to find people that are close to the job. So it might be within a 50-mile radius or a 25-mile radius. But I don't need to know that you live at 100 University Avenue, apartment 206. It's just not necessary, and it takes up more space. Additionally, labels. So just here's an example. So I've got email, zwepfer, and phone number 678. If you just put zwepfer at coco-clo.com, I'm gonna know it's an email address. I don't need you to spell it out for me. Additionally, with your phone number, you don't need to spell out what it is in order for me to understand that. Okay, here are a few optional things for you to think about. So you can include icons. Icons can be kind of nice. Here's sort of an email icon and a phone number, a phone icon. Preferred pronouns is becoming much more common today and very inclusive as well. And titles. So if you think about, no one person has one title. You might be digital innovator, marketing specialist, e-commerce expert, something like that. Sort of a clever title might be good to include. Additionally, a full name. A lot of folks have more than just a first and last name. So if you want to include your full name, you can. You certainly don't need to. In the spirit of less is more, I would probably recommend to keep it just first and last name. But certainly, if you want to put your full name, you certainly can. Picture. In some countries, pictures are actually required. You need to put a picture of yourself. In others, it's not required. I think it's really just kind of up to you, but ultimately you should use a professional picture if you're going to add one. Additionally, depending on what industry you're in, if you're working cross borders, cross countries, it could also be very relevant to include your citizenship or your work status. So do you hold US citizenship? Do you hold dual citizenship? Are you a green card holder? Do you have some sort of a work visa if you're working in the United States or working in another country? And if so, please, it's helpful to help your reader, your recruiter, the hiring manager understand what is your work status in that location. And now we're going to move into a couple of examples. So here's just kind of a top left-hand corner of your resume, and here's sort of in the middle of the resume, a couple of ideas of how you might include things like US citizen and phone number. Again, I don't need you to spell out the words phone number and then put the numbers. It's sort of implied. And same with email address. If you want to include icons here, that could look good. But again, not necessary. So there's a couple quick tips and tricks on your contact information, what you should include, what you shouldn't include, and then some of the optional things as well. Last thing actually is going to be this little line here, this little separator line. A lot of folks don't know where that is on the keyboard. It's sort of hidden just above your enter key on your keyboard. So if you look down at your enter key and you hold down shift and you press that button just above enter, if you've got sort of a normal American style keyboard, it should be just above enter, and it'll include that little separator line just here. So like global recruiter, separator line, inclusion champion. That's how you include that. So thanks for watching. Leave any questions, comments you might have, and hope you're doing well. Cheers.